The phone rang just past midnight. I'd been staring at the ceiling, half awake, half hoping it was him. When I saw Dad on the screen, my chest tightened. 7 years overseas, and this was the first time he'd called. I answered fast. "Dad?" There was silence, just his breathing, steady and distant. "It's late," he said finally. "I know." I laughed softly. "Didn't expect to hear from you. I was gonna call tomorrow. I bought gifts for everyone," he cut in, voice flat. "You don't need to come this year, Ethan." My smile froze. "Come where?" "For Christmas," I sat up. "What do you mean?" "It's better if you stay away this time." I blinked. "You're joking, right?" "I'm not." "Why?" "Things have changed. Ryan's handling things at home. We don't want any tension." "Tension?" I repeated, laughing under my breath. "Since when am I tension?" He exhaled, the kind of sigh that says more than words. "You've been gone too long." "People move on." "People? You mean family?" He didn't answer. "Dad, I spent 7 years waiting to come home. I missed birthdays, funerals, everything. I didn't even argue when you stopped writing back." "I'm not doing this tonight," he said quietly. "It's better if you stay away." My throat went dry. "Is Mom there?" "She's asleep." "Then wake her up." "No." His tone hardened. "This isn't a debate, Ethan. Let it go." The line went silent for a second. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. "Is this because of Ryan?" Still no answer. "Of course it's because of him," I muttered. "He's always been your favorite." "Golden boy, right?" "Watch your tone." I spent half my life protecting him, Dad. I taught him how to ride a bike, covered his school fights, sent him money when I was barely eating in camp. And now you're saying, "It's done," he said sharply. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." "Harder?" I whispered. "You just told your son not to come home for Christmas." He hesitated. "Good night, Ethan." The call ended. Just like that. I stared at the black screen, waiting for it to light up again. It didn't. My reflection stared back, eyes red, jaw tight. The quiet after his voice felt heavier than the years I'd spent away. I called Mom next. No answer. Then Ryan, straight to voicemail. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Dad just said not to come home. I'm guessing you know why. Call me, okay?" I hung up and waited, phone in hand, heartbeat echoing in the empty room. The clock ticked. The heater hummed. No calls. I looked around at the cheap apartment, the half-wrapped gifts on the table. A tie for Dad, a necklace for Mom, a watch for Ryan. Each one now looked stupid, like a joke I didn't get. I sat down on the floor beside them. "Guess it's just me, huh?" I said to no one. The walls didn't answer. I remembered Christmas as a kid, Mom laughing while baking cookies, Dad pretending to hate decorating, Ryan begging me to lift him so he could reach the star. Those memories used to warm me. Now they burned. I thought about calling Clara, then I remembered she'd chosen Ryan before I left. Same smile, different man. Guess some people always get what they want. I turned my phone face down. My chest hurt in that quiet, invisible way no one sees. I whispered, "I came home for nothing." The words stayed in the air. Cruel and honest. I stood, picked up the gifts, and shoved them back in the closet. I didn't even care when the wrapping paper tore. Outside, snow started to fall. The city was quiet, too quiet. I pressed my hand against the cold window and laughed once, bitter and low. "Welcome home, soldier," I told my reflection. "Nobody missed you." The light flickered above me, buzzing faintly. I sat back down, knees pulled close, listening to the hum. For the first time since the war, I felt truly alone. Not on a battlefield, but in the place I was supposed to belong. That night, I didn't sleep. I just waited for morning, hoping someone would call back. No one did, and that's when I realized the war hadn't ended. It had just changed battlefields. Christmas morning hit like a hangover I didn't earn. I woke up to silence, no calls, no messages, no family. Out of habit, I opened my phone. Bad idea. The first thing I saw was Ryan's post. Family dinner. Grateful for the people who matter most. In the picture, my mother was smiling, my father's arm rested proudly around Ryan, and beside him, Clara, my chair was filled. My spot erased. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Then I hit call. Mom first, straight to voicemail. "Hey, Mom," I said slowly. "I just wanted to drop off the gifts I got you guys. Won't stay long. Call me when you can." My voice cracked halfway through. I deleted the recording, then hit call again. Same result. I tried Dad. No answer. Ryan was last. He didn't pick up either. I sent a text. "You could have told me." A few minutes later, his reply came. "Don't make things harder. You chose to leave." I stared at the words, reading them over and over until they stopped making sense. "I chose to leave," I muttered. "Right." My hand tightened around the phone. "Sure, Ryan. I chose to leave after you stole my girlfriend and my father's trust." "Makes perfect sense." The walls didn't respond, so I laughed. Short, bitter, tired. I walked to the window. Snow had piled against the glass, soft and white. The city looked peaceful. My chest didn't. I called again. This time Mom picked up. "Ethan?" she said, her voice nervous. "Finally," I breathed. "You busy?" Yes, we're just cleaning up after dinner." "Dinner?" I looked at the clock. "It's noon. Well, we had a late night." "I saw the pictures, Mom." Silence. Then softly, "You shouldn't have looked." "I shouldn't have looked?" I repeated. "So I should just pretend I don't exist?" "Please don't start." "Start? I wasn't even invited. Your father thought—" "Yeah, I know what he thought." I cut her off. "He thought Ryan deserved everything. The house, the company, the seat at the damn table." "Ethan, it's not like that." "It's exactly like that." Her breath shook through the phone. "Your father just wants peace. You know how he is." "Yeah," I said. "Cold, controlling, and apparently fine replacing his son." "Don't say that." "It's true." Another pause. Then quietly, "I didn't know he'd tell you not to come." I closed my eyes. "You didn't stop him either." "I couldn't," she whispered. "You know how your father gets." That was her answer to everything. "You know how he gets." It was her shield, her excuse, her silence. "I'm sorry," she said. "Yeah," I muttered. "Me too." I hung up before she could say more. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I dropped onto the couch and stared at the gifts again. I should have thrown them out last night. I grabbed the tie meant for Dad. Cheap, but thoughtful. He liked navy blue. I held it for a second before tossing it aside. Ryan's words replayed in my head. "You chose to leave." I didn't leave. I escaped. From their disappointment, from always being compared to him. My mind went back to that day at the bus station. Dad stood stiff, arms crossed. "You don't need to do this," he'd said. "You're not a soldier." "I need a purpose," I'd told him. "You have one. Work with your brother." Ryan had smirked beside him. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll hold things together while he plays hero." I'd forced a smile. "Guess you'll finally get to be the man of the house." His grin said everything. The memory faded, but the sting stayed. I'd thought time would heal it, that maybe they'd be proud when I came back. Instead, they moved on. I poured myself a drink, not to celebrate, but to forget. The glass trembled in my hand. I whispered to the empty room. I gave them years. They couldn't give me one night. The heater clicked off, and for a second, everything went still. No voices, no laughter, no warmth, just me. I looked down at my phone again. Ryan's post had more likes now, more comments. "Beautiful family." "So proud of you, Ryan." I laughed softly. "Yeah, perfect family." I set the phone face down and leaned back, eyes stinging. I told myself I didn't care. That I'd stopped caring years ago. But deep down, I knew I was lying, because the truth was simple. They didn't forget me by accident. They erased me on purpose. I didn't expect anyone to knock that morning. After last night, I figured the world had forgotten I existed. But the moment I opened the door, there she was, Olivia Grant, wrapped in a gray coat, snow melting in her hair. "Ethan Ward," she said softly. "You look terrible." "Thanks," I muttered. "You always know how to brighten a man's morning." She smiled faintly. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. "If you don't mind the mess." "I grew up next door to you," she said, brushing snow off her sleeves. "You never had a clean room." "Touché." I gestured to the couch. "So what brings you here? Holiday pity?" Her expression shifted. "I saw the pictures. I froze." "Ah, the perfect family portrait." "Ethan," she started, Don't, I cut in. I already know. I wasn't invited. I'm used to it. She hesitated, then sat down. There's more. I leaned against the table. That's never good. She took a deep breath. Your father, he transferred the company to Ryan last year. For a second, the words didn't register. The company? She nodded slowly. Ward & Sons. It's Ward & Son now, I guess. I laughed. Short, hollow. So the same business I helped run before enlisting? The one Dad swore I'd inherit when I came back. Her eyes softened. I thought you knew. Guess I missed the family newsletter, I said bitterly. She sighed. I shouldn't have said anything, but you deserve to know. I poured 2 cups of coffee, more for distraction than hospitality. Did Ryan send you? Or Clara? Her eyebrows lifted. Clara? You haven't heard? I asked, voice tight. Heard what? I leaned back, smiling without humor. Never mind. Ethan, she pressed. What? Ryan and Clara, I said flatly. They're engaged. Her mouth fell open. You're kidding. Wish I was. When? Last month, I said. Quiet ceremony, probably to keep me from ruining their fairy tale. She stared at me, speechless. I sipped my coffee and forced a smirk. Don't look so shocked. It's poetic, really. I leave to serve my country and my brother serves himself to my girlfriend. That's cruel, she whispered. Yeah, that's family. The room went silent except for the hum of the heater. I tried to laugh again, but it came out shaky. Guess he took everything I ever cared about. Olivia's eyes softened. You don't deserve that, I shrugged. Deserve's a funny word. I thought loyalty meant something. Turns out it's just another word people say before stabbing you in the back. She set her cup down carefully. You could start over, you know. With what? I asked. A used car and an empty apartment? With yourself, she said firmly. You're not your father, and you're definitely not Ryan. I looked away. Easy for you to say. You didn't spend your whole life trying to make people proud who never looked at you twice. She hesitated. You were always good with your hands. Remember that old Chevy we used to race around in? Barely ran, I said. Yeah, but you fixed it. No one else could. You said one day you'd open your own shop. I smiled faintly. That was before I realized dreams cost money. She leaned forward. You said you'd been saving. I blinked. How'd you... You told me in one of your letters, she said. Don't tell me you forgot. I laughed under my breath. Guess I did. Still have the savings, though. It's not much, but maybe enough to rent a garage. Her face lit up. Then do it, I raised an eyebrow. You make it sound simple. It is, she said. You don't need them to prove your worth. You already did that by surviving. I stared at her, the weight of her words settling deep. I don't even know where to start, I admitted. Start anywhere, she said softly. Start small. Just start. I rubbed my hands together. You really think I can? I know you can. Her voice carried something I hadn't heard in a long time. Belief. Real, quiet belief. I looked down at my coffee, at the swirl of black and cream. If I do this, it won't be for them. It shouldn't be, she said. It should be for you. The room fell silent again. Outside, snow kept falling, blanketing the world in white. I finally said, You always were bossy. She laughed. Someone had to be. When she left, I stood by the window, watching her walk away. The snow crunched under her boots, leaving faint prints behind. I whispered to myself, Start small. And for the first time in years, I actually wanted to. The wind rattled my windows like fists demanding to be let in. The storm outside howled against the city, but I barely noticed. The lights had gone out an hour ago. Figures, I muttered, pulling on my jacket. Across the street, Mrs. Patterson's porch light flickered, then died. She was 80, lived alone, and relied on that generator more than she admitted. I grabbed my toolbox and stepped into the storm. Rain hit like needles. When she opened the door, her face lit up. Oh, Ethan, thank heavens, she said. The generator stopped again. I didn't know who else to call. You did the right thing, I said. Let me take a look. I crouched beside the old machine. The wind roared, the rain blurred everything, but the familiar rhythm of bolts and wires steadied me. You shouldn't be out in this weather, she said from the doorway. Storms don't scare me, I said, tightening a screw. They just remind me I'm still alive. She smiled faintly. You've always been that kind of boy. Man now, I corrected. The generator sputtered, coughed, then hummed back to life. The porch light glowed again. "There," I said. "Good as it's gonna get." She handed me a towel. "Your parents must be proud of you." I forced a smile. "Yeah, sure." By the time I got back home, my phone buzzed nonstop. Not from my family, never from them. Just old names from the army. "Merry Christmas." "Brother. Stay safe out there." "You're missed." "Ward." I typed one reply. "You're the only family I've got left." Then I set the phone down and listened to the rain slam against the windows. For a while, I just sat there watching the light from the generator across the street blink through the storm. My mind wandered to Ryan, to Dad, to the years I spent chasing approval that was never coming. Ryan always took shortcuts. He cheated on tests, lied his way through work, charmed everyone into forgiving him. And Dad, he called it initiative. I remembered the day I enlisted. Ryan laughed. "You'll come back with nothing but stories," he'd said. And Dad just patted my shoulder and muttered, "At least he's doing something useful." Useful. That's all I ever was to them. Clara's face flashed next. The last night before I left. She'd promised to wait. I believed her smile, not realizing it was already fading. I leaned back on the couch, eyes on the ceiling. Maybe Olivia was right. Maybe I could start over. But every dream I had still had their shadows on it. The thunder rolled, deep and angry, and for a second I wondered if storms ever got tired of repeating themselves. The phone rang again. I picked it up without checking the name. "Ethan?" Olivia's voice. "Hey," I said. "You still awake?" "Barely," she replied. But I had to call. "Have you heard?" "Heard what?" "It's about your brother," she said. "Ryan's in trouble," I frowned. "What kind of trouble?" "Money trouble. I overheard Dad talking to someone at the bank earlier. Said the company's funds were missing. Big chunk." I let out a low whistle. Guess Karma finally learned his address. "This isn't funny," she said quietly.
"Your father's panicking."
"Everyone's looking for Ryan. Not my problem anymore," I said flatly. "Ethan, Olivia, I'm serious. They made their choices." There was silence on the line, filled only by the hiss of rain. "You don't mean that," she said finally. "I do," I said. "I spent years trying to fix what they broke. Maybe it's their turn," she hesitated. "You sound cold. Maybe I've earned the right to be." Another crack of thunder split the air. For a moment, the power flickered again, and I caught my reflection in the window, tired, hollow, unrecognizable. "Still," she said softly, "I know you. You care, even when you say you don't." I didn't answer. The storm outside grew louder, the kind that shakes you from the inside out. When she finally said goodbye, I just whispered, "Stay safe." After the call, I sat in the dark again. Lightning lit up the room, a flash, a reminder, a warning. Maybe I didn't care, or maybe I cared too much. Either way, the storm wasn't done, not outside and not in me. I woke up to the sound of knocking, firm, steady, deliberate. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then it came again. "Hold on," I muttered, rubbing my eyes. When I opened the door, a man in a charcoal suit stood there holding a black briefcase. "Mr. Ethan Ward?" he asked. "Yeah," I said cautiously. "Who's asking?" He removed his hat, raindrops sliding off the brim. "My name's Robert Ellis. I'm your family's attorney." The word family hit harder than I expected. "Attorney?" I stepped aside. "You'd better come in." He nodded politely and entered. My apartment wasn't much, just a couch, a coffee table, and the faint smell of last night's coffee. He didn't seem to mind. He sat down, placing the briefcase between us like a line drawn in sand. "I wish I could say this is a pleasant visit," he said quietly, "but I'm afraid it isn't." My pulse quickened. "Is someone hurt?" He took a slow breath. "Your father passed away in his sleep 2 nights ago." For a second, the world froze. I stared at him, waiting for a follow-up, a correction, but he's in the hospital, anything. But he just looked back at me, patient, serious. "You're sure?" My voice cracked. "I'm very sorry, Ethan," he said softly. "He was found by your mother early that morning." I leaned back on the couch, my hands trembling. "He told me not to come home," I whispered. "Said it was better that way." Mr. Ellis folded his hands. "He did, and now I understand why." I looked up sharply. What do you mean? He hesitated. Before his passing, your father made several changes to his will. He came to my office a week before Christmas. I let out a bitter laugh. That sounds like him, planning everything, never explaining why. Ellis opened the briefcase and pulled out a folder. Your father wanted things to be clear. According to the updated document, he has left all his assets, the company, the house, and his personal savings, to you. My breath caught. What? He continued evenly. Ryan Ward is excluded from the inheritance entirely. Mrs. Ward will retain only her jewelry collection, as per your father's note. I blinked at him, unable to process the words. There's no way. Ryan was the one he cared about. He made that very clear. I understand your disbelief, Ellis said, but he explained his reasoning. He told me, quote, Ethan's the only one who still knows what loyalty means. I stared at the table, the words echoing in my mind. Loyalty. That was the last thing I expected from him. He said that? Ellis nodded. He did. He seemed tired, but calm. He wanted to protect you. Protect me? I repeated. From what? Ellis sighed. I'm not at liberty to discuss private matters beyond what's in the will, but I will say this. Your father looked worried. He mentioned financial irregularities in the company. Funds had gone missing. My stomach twisted. Ryan, I said flatly. I can't confirm that, Ellis replied carefully, but he seemed to suspect someone close. He didn't want you dragged into it. I sank back, running a hand through my hair. So that's why he told me not to come home. He was trying to keep me clear of the fallout. It seems that way, he said. I let out a shaky breath. He died thinking I hated him. Ellis shook his head. He didn't think that. He told me he regretted not saying more. He wanted to give you something that couldn't be taken away. Silence filled the room. The rain outside had stopped, but my chest felt heavier than before. What happens now? I finally asked. I'll need your signature on some documents, he said, opening the folder again. We'll begin the transfer process this week. Your mother and brother have already been informed. Let me guess, I muttered. Ryan didn't take it well. Ellis's lips pressed together. He was upset. Upset? I almost laughed. He stole my life, my girlfriend, and now he's angry I got what's left? The lawyer didn't respond. His silence said enough. I picked up the pen he offered and signed where he pointed. My hand felt numb, like it didn't belong to me. When he stood to leave, he paused by the door. Your father asked me to give you this, he said, handing me a small sealed envelope. My throat tightened. What's inside? I don't know, he replied. He told me you'd understand when you opened it. After he left, I sat staring at the envelope. My name, Ethan, was written in his neat, old-fashioned handwriting. I traced the letters with my thumb, afraid to tear them open. For a moment, I almost called my mother. I imagined her crying, Ryan shouting in the background. But then I remembered my father's last words, "Don't come home." I set the envelope on the table. You tried to protect me, didn't you? I whispered. Even when I thought you didn't care, the clock ticked softly. The apartment was silent except for my own breathing. I leaned back and looked at the ceiling. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger, just a strange, hollow peace. Goodbye, Dad, I murmured. You finally did what I couldn't. The church smelled like lilies and rain. I stood at the back, watching the crowd gather. My mother sat in the front row, black veil covering her face. She didn't look at me once. Ryan stood beside the casket, shaking hands, pretending to be the grieving son. Clara was next to him, head bowed, mascara streaking down her cheeks. I wasn't sure if she was crying for my father or for herself. When I finally walked down the aisle, whispers rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered, "That's him, the one who got everything." Another voice, "The soldier son, the quiet one." I stopped a few feet from my mother. "Mom," I said softly. She flinched. "Ethan, you shouldn't have come." I had to. Her eyes darted to the crowd. "Not here, please." Before I could respond, Ryan turned. His jaw was tight, his voice sharp. "What the hell are you doing here?" "It's Dad's funeral," I said calmly. "I have every right to be here." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You manipulated him. You turned him against us." I almost laughed. "Really? You think I controlled him from miles away?" "Don't act innocent," he snapped. "You got him to change the will." I didn't even know there was a will, I said. You're angry because you lost control. His face turned red. You don't deserve anything. You left us. I left because I had to survive, I said quietly. You stayed because it was easy. The tension between us was thick enough to choke on. My mother whispered, "Please stop." Not here, Clara tugged Ryan's sleeve. Ryan, let it go. He turned on her. You shut up. This is your fault too. Her eyes filled again. My fault? I didn't make you steal from the company. The words hit like a bomb. Gasps spread through the room. A few reporters near the back started scribbling in notebooks. Ryan's expression shifted from rage to panic. Watch your mouth, he hissed. I stared at him. So it's true, he glared at me. You think you're so righteous, don't you? Dad was going to hand everything to me until you came back. Dad saw what you really were, I said. He just waited too long to admit it. Clara took a shaky breath. I can't do this, she whispered and turned toward the door. Ryan grabbed her arm. Don't you walk away from me, she yanked free. You already lost everything, Ryan. Don't drag me down with you. She rushed out, tears spilling. Everyone stared. Ryan's composure cracked. She's useless, he muttered, voice trembling. All of you think you're better than me. I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. The service began soon after, the priest's voice echoing off the stone walls. I barely heard a word. My eyes stayed on the coffin, the polished wood reflecting the dim light. When it was over, people filed out quickly, eager to escape the tension. My mother lingered by the doorway. Ethan, she whispered, your father, he loved you in his own way. I looked at her. Then why did it feel like hate? Tears slipped under her veil. Because he didn't know how to love softly. She turned and walked away. Outside, the air was cold. Reporters clustered near the gate, murmuring about missing funds, legal action, betrayal. I walked past them in silence. Every flash of a camera felt like a spark against my skin. The cemetery was quiet that night. After everyone left, I returned alone. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still soft under my boots. I knelt beside the fresh grave, brushing away the wet leaves. Hey, Dad, I whispered. You could have told me the truth. The words came out broken, trembling. You didn't have to make me hate you first. Wind rustled the trees. Somewhere, a crow cawed. I rested my hand on the cold stone. You were right, though. I stayed away, and now I see why. For a long time, I just sat there listening to the silence. There was no anger left, just a hollow ache and the faintest sense of peace. I get it now, I said softly. You weren't pushing me away. You were saving me. The night swallowed my words. I stood, shoulders heavy, but my chest strangely light. As I walked back to the gate, I glanced once more at the grave. Rest easy, old man, I whispered. You finally did the right thing. It was close to midnight when the pounding started. I thought it was thunder again, but then came the voice, slurred, furious. Open up, Ethan! I hesitated, then unlocked the door. Ryan stumbled inside, drenched, eyes bloodshot. The smell of alcohol hit me instantly. You took everything from me, he shouted, shoving my shoulder. The company, the house, Clara, everything. I steadied him. Ryan, calm down. You're drunk. Don't you tell me what I am. He slammed his fist against the wall. You don't get to play the saint now, I sighed. I didn't take anything. You lost it on your own, he turned, pointing at me. You think you're better than me? You think Dad loved you more? I looked him in the eye. No, I think he loved us both wrong. He froze for a second, then laughed bitterly. Wrong? He worshipped you at the end. He left me with nothing. Because you took everything else before that, I said quietly. You took his trust. You took Clara. You even took the company and broke it. Ryan's jaw tightened. You think I meant for things to fall apart? I just wanted him to see me. The anger in his voice cracked mid-sentence. All he ever talked about was you. Ethan this, Ethan that, Ethan the soldier. I worked my ass off for him, but it was never enough. I sat down, motioning toward the couch. Sit, you'll hurt yourself. He ignored me, pacing like a caged animal. You left, and he still compared me to you. I thought, if I built something, maybe he'd finally say he was proud. His voice broke. But he never did. I swallowed hard. I know that feeling, he turned sharply. No, you don't. You were his hero. The one who got letters, medals, attention. I was just the screw-up trying to catch up. Ryan, I said softly, I spent 7 years wondering why I wasn't enough either. You weren't the only one chasing his approval. He blinked, tears welling in his eyes. So what, now you get to play therapist? I'm not trying to. I leaned forward. I'm just saying. We both lost the same man, long before he died. For the first time, he didn't argue. His hands trembled as he wiped his face. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. But they did, I said. And you can't undo it now. He slumped against the wall, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. I hate you, he whispered. And I hate that I don't. I looked at him for a long moment. Then maybe stop hating and start forgiving yourself first. He shook his head violently. You don't get it. I ruined everything. Clara's gone. Mom won't answer my calls. I can't even walk down the street without someone spitting my name like poison. Then rebuild, I said. Do what I did. Start over. He looked up at me with glassy eyes. You really think I can? I think you have to, I said. Or you'll drown in it. He let out a shaky laugh. You always were the good one. I'm not good, I said. Just tired of fighting ghosts. Ryan buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. For a moment, I saw the boy I used to protect, the one who followed me everywhere asking me to teach him things. When he finally looked up, his voice was small. I just wanted him to say he was proud. I felt something in my chest twist. Me too. He nodded slowly, then stood unsteadily. You got what you wanted, Ethan. You got his name, his legacy. I met his gaze. None of it matters without peace. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned toward the door. I reached out, offering my hand. Stay, we can talk. He hesitated, eyes flickering between my face and my hand. Then he shook his head. You keep the peace, brother. I'll find my own. And just like that, he walked out into the night. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving the room heavy with silence. I sat there for a while, listening to the faint hum of the city outside. My heart hurt, not from anger, but from understanding. A soft knock came a few minutes later. When I opened the door, Olivia stood there holding 2 cups of coffee. I saw him leaving, she said. He looked lost. Yeah, I murmured. He's been lost for a long time. She handed me a cup. You handled it better than I expected. I smiled faintly. I didn't fight back. That's what made it powerful, she said. You didn't need revenge. You let the truth do it for you. I looked out the window. The rain had stopped, and for the first time in weeks, the city felt quiet. Maybe that's enough, I said softly. She smiled. It is. The gate creaked like it remembered me. The air smelled of rain and rust, and the old family house stood there, quiet, patient, unchanged. I stood on the porch, key trembling in my hand. When the door opened, dust rushed out like a sigh. I stepped in slowly, every sound echoing too loud in the silence. Guess it's just you and me now, I muttered, flipping a light switch that didn't work. The living room was a ghost. The same cracked vase on the table, the same curtains my mother had sewn years ago, faded but still hanging on. My footsteps left trails in the dust. Then I saw it, the piano. My mother's piano. It stood in the corner, covered with a gray sheet, as if waiting for her hands to return. I hesitated, then pulled the cover off. The keys were yellowed, some chipped. Still, I sat down. My fingers pressed a few broken notes, uneven, shaky, but enough to make something stir in me. Dad hated this thing, I said under my breath. Too emotional, he said. A faint smile tugged at me. I played another chord, the sound off-key but honest. Something fluttered beneath the lid. A folded envelope. I frowned, lifted it carefully, and turned it over. My name was on it, Ethan, in his handwriting. My throat tightened. I opened it slowly, the paper crackling. I pushed you away to protect you. I froze. Ryan was in deep trouble. I didn't want you dragged down too. I failed you as a father, but I hope this gives you a start to build something real. That was all. No long explanation, no apology big enough to fill the years between us. Just that. I stared at the words until they blurred. You could have told me, Dad, I whispered. You didn't have to make me hate you. The wind rattled the windows, almost like a reply. I leaned back, the letter trembling in my hands. You thought pushing me away would save me. Maybe it did, but it broke everything else. The room seemed smaller now, full of what-ifs and echoes. I closed my eyes, hearing Ryan's voice, Mom's laughter, even Clara's distant crying. All of it tangled together like a song I couldn't finish. I folded the letter gently and slipped it into my pocket. My hands were shaking, but not from anger anymore. The house felt alive again, like it had been waiting for this, for someone to come back and listen. I stood, opened the old curtains, and sunlight spilled across the floor. Dust turned golden in the light. "Looks better already," I said quietly. I walked through the rooms, my old bedroom, Ryan's, even Dad's study. His chair was still turned toward the window, the desk neat as ever. I touched the edge of it and whispered, "You really believe distance was love, didn't you?" The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was soft, almost forgiving. I wandered back to the piano, sat again, and played the first melody Mom ever taught me. The sound cracked halfway through, but I kept playing until my voice broke with it. "Maybe you were right," I said softly. "Maybe I needed to lose everything to understand." The letter in my pocket felt like both a wound and a gift. It didn't erase what happened, but it explained the silence, the anger, the distance. I could almost hear him, that quiet voice that always carried weight. "Be better than me, son," I let out a shaky laugh. "I'll try." Outside, the clouds broke apart, spilling light across the porch. I walked over, opened every window I could find, and let the air rush in. The house breathed again, old, aching, but alive. The piano stood in sunlight now, the dust slowly settling. I whispered to no one in particular, "Welcome home." The words echoed softly through the halls, bouncing off the walls, finding corners untouched for years. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was something close. I sat there for a long time, watching the light crawl across the floorboards, feeling both heavy and lighter all at once. When I finally stood to leave, I turned back one last time. The house didn't look empty anymore. It looked like it had been waiting, and finally someone had come back.